Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Now, let's look at CIT, again, in the context of the biggest attack on Christmas since Oliver Cromwell, now being carried out by the Obama regime. CIT are factors. They provide financing for merchandise, for commerce. This is commercial capital. Obama loves finance capital. Obama destroys industrial capital, and now you're going to see him destroy commercial capital. This is retail sales. This is how clothing and other merchandise, consumer electronics too, get into stores. We are now right in the key period where you got to start shipping the stuff that's going to be available for the Christmas holiday, the biggest sales season of the year, right? We've got this sick economy with 2/3 or 3/4 of everything is consumer sales, and now that's going to be destroyed. I mean, it's a sick situation to begin with, but this is going to make it worse. Now, what does it mean to be a factor? These terms come out in the common used to be in the New York City Garment Center, and that's exactly the area where CIT operates. The basic thing is they deal with about 1 million small business and medium-sized companies who need to ship goods into retail stores, above all clothing, shoes, everything like that that's left here in the United States. About 60%, almost 2/3 of that, goes through CIT. They have clients which include Dell Computer, Dunkin' Donuts, and Dillard's stores. We're told that as CIT approaches bankruptcy, production is ceasing at certain places that can no longer ship. The Greg Norman clothing line, I think, has halted production. Doori, D-O-O-R-I, this is some other kind of merchandise, has halted production. Craftsman Furniture is going to be in big trouble. And essentially what it is this. These are bills of lading and bills of exchange. This is classic financing done by a factor, done by a company that provides short-term credit. When you ship clothing to a store so it gets on the rack by Christmas, this stuff is generally payable in 90 days. So 90 days equals cash, except, of course, it doesn't equal cash. If I'm a clothing manufacturer and I ship $1 million of clothes to Macy's or something else, so Dell Computer needs to ship computers, you've got to turn that into cash. So what it is the producer, the vendor, the people who are selling this stuff can take their accounts receivable, their bills of lading, right? Because it means I filled up a truck with $100,000 worth of clothing and sent that to Macy's. That becomes a negotiable piece of commercial paper. So you could take that to CIT and say, look, this is worth $1 million, and CIT would give you $950,000, and the rest of it would be interest that they would keep, right, for the or whatever it is, right, whatever slice that they get to keep. And this way you can keep producing. And then finally the retailers, after 30, 60, 90, or whatever it is, from 3 to 6 months sometimes, pay that back to CIT. Get it? Without this, merchandise does not move. So Dunkin' Donuts, Dell Computers, Dillard's, Greg Norman, Doori, Craftsman Furniture, and essentially 1 million others are going to be hit by this. Now, isn't it interesting? Obama, Geithner, and Summers have all the money in the world, with Bernanke, of course. They have all the money in the world for Citibank, J.P. Morgan, the whole crew of zombie bankers. They've got $3.5 billion for the Hartford. They have Prudential, Allstate, MetLife, Lincoln Financial, Ameriprise Financial, Principal Financial, all on the list. Money is available for them if they need it. American Express gets money. All sorts of people get money. But as soon as you get close to real, tangible, physical production, the things that people must have in order to live, oh no, that would create moral hazard. We can't do it. Now, if CIT goes under, as it looks like it will, that means that a lot of goods that were on their way to the shelves for the year-end buying season will not move. And indeed, some of these companies are already shutting down. They're already ceasing production at Greg Norman and Dury, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the way that Obama's policies are coming into the communities, right? Every community now, you can walk down the street and you'll find a dealership that used to be, we used to have Reed Brothers Dodge in the suburbs here, and now and they've become a used car lot. So, and that also means that their repair operation is going to be hit hard. So the automobile dealers that have been shut down for no economic reason, but for political reasons, for targeting, and for the idea, that the bankers want to loot the economy. This is a form of asset stripping on the entire economy. That will now kick over from the auto retailers, the automobile dealerships, now to the department stores, the clothing stores, the shoe stores. It's a total wipeout of small business. Now, this stuff is dangerous. What happens to those small business people when they get wiped out? You want to know the political trajectory of such people? Take a look at Germany, Italy, 1920s to 1930s. Let us say that small business people who have been wantonly, deliberately wiped out by a regime in the service of the big banks, like this one, they tend to drift towards, let's say, totalitarian mass movements. Can we say that? Of the type that we saw in Central Europe in the 1920s and 30s. You get the idea. So it's much, much better not to do this to these people also, because this is basically destroying the U.S. economy. So this is the CIT story. They're a loser, and of course it means once they're wiped out, then either you go under, or if you're lucky and you're chosen to survive, you can then go to one of these zombie institutions. I'm sure they'll have something there, and you can pay 2 or 3 times as much. So it is a process of asset stripping the entire economy, which is now being carried out by a regime in Washington which looks for all the world like a hedge fund. The federal government is now a hedge fund. So this is bad. Now, this gets us into, again, the fact that no credit is flowing. What should be done? Force the Federal Reserve to open a Main Street lending window with a rediscount guarantee for precisely this kind of paper. If you have a bill of lading, if you have a bill of exchange, if you're a clothing producer with accounts receivable, there's got to be a regime where you can go to your local bank and they disgorge that cash because they know they can turn around and send it to the Fed, the nationalized or partially nationalized Fed, and the Fed is forced to rediscount that paper and disgorge cash for the people involved. The rediscount guarantee. So open the Main Street lending window. We've been told all along the bailout of Wall Street was not for the sake of Wall Street. The bailout of Wall Street is because they're the credit engine for the economy. Well, they're not. They're zombie bankers. They sit there and parasitize the rest of the economy. They drive up the price of oil if they can. They trade in derivatives. They're licking their chops waiting for cap and trade because they want to create a new speculative bubble in those carbon offsets. That's the secret behind that. The guy who designed that is from Goldman Sachs, and he's Geithner's right-hand man. So open the Federal Reserve, nationalized part of it at least. If you can't nationalize all of it, nationalize part of it. Force them to disgorge 0% federal credit for production in this case, for production of shoes, clothing, consumer electronics, and all the other things that CIT has been financing. CIT is probably beyond saving, but just to let it go down, no. Seize it and nationalize it and operate it using 0% federal credit to keep this stuff going. Toss out the management and keep the U.S. economy going. No foreclosures, no shutdowns for these purposes. This is a huge new crime of the Obama regime as CIT Factor is about to go under, and 1 million retailers across the United States are now quaking in their boots because they are going to get hit. They're not going to have merchandise. They're going to go under. Barkey did it.